Well, welcome everyone. I really appreciate you coming to the Experience It session. Today we have Resa and Amanda, and they are experts in using the clicker systems on campus. And they have gone through troubleshooting and all different types of issues, which you can feel free to ask about after they do their demo and show you more how they use it. And I'm really tickled that they're here because I've attended this session before and it's fabulous. I think you'll learn a lot and you'll get excited. And I know the session I went to a year ago with Resa, the way she phrases the questions for the students and the responses that she gets is just amazing. So welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
And we'll turn it over to you.
Great.
Thank you. So could we go around and hear who you are? Because I know we've got some new faculty and new staff folks, so let's start with
Okay, I'm Claude Lumpkin, School of Business,
Claude.
and you
you're
helped
the
me.
winter
Yes,
term.
thank you very
Oh,
much.
It's so good to meet you in person.
It's
Yeah.
my pleasure.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm Hong Xiao from History and Geography.
History and geography.
Svetlana Nepochadek from Exercise Science.
And Svetlana is new to Elon. And
I'm Dan Reese from here at TLT.
okay.
And I'm Ben McFadden here at TLT.
And the three of us are here to serve you. So if you have questions or concerns, call 5006 and we are at your service.
And we're also available to help if any of you need assistance. I know, Svetlana, you're right down the hall from us, but we're happy to help outside of this session as well.
So about, 7 or 8 years ago now, the textbook that we were using for our personal health class, the publishers had talked with us about the use of clickers. And our class is a required class, so about 1,400 students take it each year. And I actually think what helped is that, oh,
Can I plug you in one here real quick?
I was trying to move closer.
It's okay. Figured it out. You got another mic. We had another. Just put it right here.
You want me to clip it into your belt?
That works. Perfect.
Good. Is that good? I don't mind holding it.
You just
Want
put
me
it
to
in your
clip it?
back pocket.
Oh, good thinking, Amanda. So, since we order about 1,400 books a year from this publisher, when we heard about the clickers, we said, you know, won't you throw in some of these since our order is so big? And indeed, they agreed to do that. And we tried it out and had pretty good success with it. And then Elon bought a set for us, and then we got a couple more sets through the publisher. So we just started using it a good bit in our wellness classes. And Amanda can speak more to how she uses it in her classes, but I primarily use CPS for what we call polling questions. For example, if I'm doing a unit on sleep, I may start that unit with questions with the entire class about how many hours of sleep did you get last night? And they can click in and we can immediately see a pie chart of how the class is doing in terms of sleep. When we cover alcohol, on average, the last time that you went out, did you drink 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4? And they can click in anonymously, and then we get this pie chart. So for the topics that we cover in the health class, they're very engaged to see what are we doing as a class around these topics, and then we can deliver content as well. So primarily I use the clickers for polling questions, and then I do put in some content questions every now related to what I've asked them to read, and there are multiple choice questions that they'll respond to. Amanda, you may use it differently.
Depending on which class I'm teaching, I do both polling and content. One of my upper level classes, I do predominantly content, so I know whether or not they're following. Are they getting the information, or do I need to go back because they haven't quite gotten it? I've used some case studies where I've embedded clicker questions within those case studies as well. So there's really tons of different ways that you can use these questions and the clicker systems within your, predominantly your PowerPoints. So it really is, I think, whatever best serves both your needs as well as your students' needs.
So we're going to take you starting step 1. You want to try this out. First of all, how do I get the software so that I can try it out? And Amanda and I both have found the very best thing for you to do to get the software is to go to www.einstruction.com, or you can call the number directly.
Calling the number, they will send you directly to the
to-
website anyway, so you want to go to the website first and then begin that process. And it is helpful to have one of their troubleshooters as you're going through that process, because the first time you go through it, it is likely that you will need some assistance along the way, because all of our systems are a little bit different.
And so when you get to this number, and it just takes you through some prompts where you can actually get to a person who will walk you through loading the software. And I just did this again 3 days ago just to make sure it still works the same way. And I actually was able to allow this tech expert access to my computer so that we could make sure that the software was loaded, and he could walk me through it. And it took a total of 15 to 20 minutes. But before you do that, you'll want to check out a set of clickers so that you can make sure they're working after you download the software. So before you make this number, I think you check them out here in Media Services, is that correct? Yeah. So check out a set of clickers, call this number, and after that, within 20 to 30 minutes, you'll have it loaded on your computer, and we're going to bring it up and show you how it looks. But before we enter the software, we want to really tell you it really is this easy. How many of you already have at least one PowerPoint around a topic that you deliver in your class? You've got it. It's really this simple to try it out. You go back to that PowerPoint and you create new slides where you have multiple choice questions. And that really is all you have to do. Create a few new slides where you want to either ask opinion questions or content questions. And you put that in as a PowerPoint slide. And then we're going to show you how you just pull that PowerPoint presentation into the software, and you're good to go. So if you were our class today, we would say we're going to have you use the clickers today. And the way Amanda and I do it, we want to make sure that you know your response is anonymous. We're not going to see which clicker you pick up. We don't know which number you have. Your number is not associated with a name. We just make sure, because of the kinds of questions we use, that we...
Now that's how we do it, but you can take attendance with them. Some faculty use them regularly and use them as a way to take attendance, so you absolutely can do that. That is not how we use them, but there is a function contained within that you can do that. I definitely know for faculty who have larger classes, that's very beneficial to them to very easily be able to use these clickers and use them for attendance. The other thing I will say is in these clicker containers, there's only 32 clickers. So if you have a class larger than 32, you'll need 2 sets. And we will show you what you need to do so that the students who are using clickers beyond number 32 can see their responses. Right now I have a class of 33. And so I've borrowed one of Resa's clickers, put it in my bag for the rest of the class, but I've just set the parameters such that it will read all those clickers. So we'll show you that when we get to that part. But that is important for you to know if you have a class larger than that you'll need either 2 sets and that you're going to have to change some parameters.
And can they check the clickers out for an extended period of time?
They can.
Oh, good.
Normally, when you go to check them out at Media Services, they'll tell you there's a 6-hour window. But if you plan to use them longer than 6 hours, if you just work with us, we will make those accommodations. It's no problem at all.
Okay.
Great.
Okay, so you're going to get to class a little bit early because you want to get your PowerPoint ready to go before students come in, and you want to use it through CPS, which is just the name of the product that we use.
Classroom Performance System.
So
what you would do is before you load anything into, you're gonna have one of 2 devices. You're either gonna have a device that looks like this, or you'll have a device that just looks like a flash drive. And so obviously you're just gonna plug it in like you would any other device. and it just clicked up, say e-instruction device manager, CPS is connected. So it shows you that it's already reading this, which ultimately is going to read all of your devices. Same thing if it's the flash drive. This icon down here is what will come up once you've loaded it. If you just move the clicker off of this for just, you'll see it's a very small green, yellow, purple, blue with a little like question mark or E in it. And that's what you will always click on to load your software, even though many of you will have other icons on your desktop. Those are really for the slides in that content, but you want to always enter the program from this icon down here on your desktop.
And so I want to click on CPS, which should bring up the program. And this is actually a tutorial that you can use. Once again, we recommend going through the website and the 888 number.
But once you've gone through the 888 number, and if you needed something, if you just forgot something you need to refresh, this is helpful because you'll know what you're looking for once you've started to use it if you need a refresher. But to start with, talk to somebody.
Yeah. And this is just not one that we use, but you can set up a gradebook. We just don't use that one. But
we've run reports though.
Yeah, we have. Oh yeah, a lot of them in the beginning, didn't we? Okay. So there are a number of things that you need to do now that you're in the software, and the primary thing that you want to do is to engage a lesson, but to engage a lesson, you need to have a PowerPoint that you bring into the software. So we're going to show you how to go get a PowerPoint. Well, you know how to do that, but...
You're going to want to be in Prepare, but it'll always come up in Engage. So when you're in Prepare, you'll have a file, or you may need to create a new file. We already have new CPS files set for us. If you want to go get a file, you're just going to click and go down to Add Files. Once you click on Add File, you can pull it from anywhere that you have something stored.
That's how you go get the PowerPoint that you've got stored
just
somewhere.
Like you would anything else.
So
we already went to get ours, and you can see that there's several in here that have been used. Is the one what we're doing here?
Oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't one.
I thought you had already loaded the one we were using.
I think I took it out so we could show them exactly how to do that.
Okay, so I guess we're going to find the file that we're going to use today. And so it's a PowerPoint that we've already used before. Sorry, we didn't make a special one for you today. Just going to open it.
By the way, what we're showing you today is the way we made a presentation about some of our work, and we embedded this into a professional presentation. So not only can you do this with a classroom, you can do it for professional presentations as well.
Mm-hmm. So then just click on it so that it highlights. Click on Engage.
And you want to tell it what to engage. So you're going to have to put a check mark in the box for the PowerPoint you want to engage.
See over me? Okay. So there you go. And once you click on the check mark that says Engage, you'll see that this lights up. It tells you that you actually can engage. It's telling you a couple of things. One, it's telling you that this is on and the clickers are reading. If your clickers aren't reading, you'll be able to click Engage, but it'll tell you that there's an error. So once this comes up with a green arrow, you know you are good to go. It takes a minute and just pull it right up. Again, none of you probably have your receivers powered on, but it already knows that they are in existence. So at this point, once we were in a class and our PowerPoint is pulled up, we would ask you to power on, which is the E button at the bottom that says power join. So you just press that until your screen shows up.
And let us make a suggestion that, let's say you do have 33 students. I would take at least 37 of the clickers, because the batteries can go dead easily and then you're kind of stuck. So I would take some extra clickers, and actually, I don't know if you keep extra batteries in the containers.
do.
But
That would be a
anyway,
good recommendation.
Yeah, because we've had that happen a number of times.
Because of and that's the one thing that we just, because we have them, we repeatedly check ours. If you're getting them from media services, I would suggest that you check them out in advance and making sure that they have either full cells or 2 or 3 cells. If they have 1 cell, it's likely that it won't read or that will die during the time of your presentation. So if media services could have batteries contained within, that would probably be very beneficial, because you could quickly just swap them out and be prepared for class.
So you can see then, this really looks like just your regular PowerPoint, and you're going to click through it just like you would your regular PowerPoint.
Let me do it.
Yeah, that'd be fine. You'll see some, yeah,
We'll get to them. A white screen is.
hard to,
Oh,
there you
we
go. We can, there you go, Amanda. So we like to show off Elon when we go to professional conferences. So this might be your content. This would be where you would have content and you would keep going through your content. And then you might get to a place in your PowerPoint where you think, you know, this is where I want to weigh in with students. So you've created a new slide that will allow you to weigh in. And this is where you tell your students, until I activate the receiver, it won't read your answer, because they're immediately going to start doing this. You know, they're kind of, so,
And they don't have to spread it all around.
but they will.
But they do.
And you can also have one and weigh in along with the class if you'd like to. I do that sometimes just for the fun of it. But so this would be your multiple choice question, but you've got to tell the system that it's multiple choice and you want to allow the receiver to receive the frequency. So you go down to verbal.
And this is going to be your favorite button. This is predominantly the button that you will use most of the time to engage any of your content or polling questions.
So this particular question has A through D as possible answers. So that's what I've got to click on. And all your numbers have shown up at the bottom. So now you pick up your clicker. And you don't have, we're not going to test you on this, just click in anything. Oh no, it would be good to see if you guys are eating healthy.
But you need to click in and send. So don't forget to press send. A lot of times students forget that they need to hit the send button. They're wondering why is their number not showing up, or it clicks on and clicks off. But this way, you know, if you have 8 students in class, you're waiting for 8 people to click in. Sometimes I'm always joking, like, all right, I got one sleeping out there.
Yeah.
Eventually, you're gonna lose the chance of being able to click in, but that helps you to know. You don't have to make sure all the buttons are clicked, but you know how many have answered if you know how many students are in your class.
Is it picking all the others up just because they're in the same room?
It's actually, it just knows that we have 32 clickers in this, so it
We
knows
set
that
it
they're
up.
there,
Yeah.
but without them being engaged, it won't do anything with them.
But if you left them back in your office, would they still show up?
It would still show up
Show
as
up.
32 because we have the parameters set for 32.
And if you got 64, you could go in and set the parameters for it
We'll
to
show you
read
how to
up
do
to
that.
64.
And we'll show you how to do that.
Okay, so we want to see collectively how the class responded to this, so I need to end the opportunity for you to click in. So guess what? You click the end button. And as a class, then we can see oh my, I'm worried about this person. Are you kidding me? Oh, okay. This person, if you want to see me after class, we'll talk about healthier breakfast. But this,
And
Yeah.
you can make it a little bit smaller so that people can still see the answers, or move it to the other side, and usually it'll come up in the exact same place for which you place it.
or let's say you just don't like that kind of graphic, then you can in fact change the graphic
The
right
graphics
there.
are all up here. So
Resa, when you clicked in, did it automatically display the data? Is that what happened?
yep, once you hit end.
Automatically.
Right. So then once you're done talking, you would just X out of this and continue on with your PowerPoint presentation.
But let's say that that was a content question and there are 26 students and 13 got it wrong, then that's an opportunity for you to check in again and say, you know, maybe we need to look at this concept a little bit more. What can I do to make it clear? You know, use all your teaching techniques. But if this is a content question, then you've got immediate feedback as to whether they're ready to move on or not.
Right. The other thing, which some people use it as in their content question, they time them so they only have 30 seconds to respond. So almost, you could, if you used it in such that students were given a specific clicker number, you could use it as a quiz, and that they would only have X amount of time to log in. You can see those answers at the end. We're not really going to go through that, but that's where the reports can be very, very helpful. If you're making sure that the students have the same clickers every single time, you're wanting to track if they understand the material, they don't understand the material. You can time it where we just had no time. We just ended it. We let you click in as long as you wanted to click in. Is that?
Yeah. So now let's say we were getting ready to start a unit on sleep. We might want to start with how much sleep people in the class are getting. So once again, you're our class, and we'd like for you to answer this question.
And you'll notice that you
oh.
don't have, after you've hit verbal the first time, you
time.
no longer have to do that anymore. This will automatically come up for you. And here's the timer. If you want to set that, if you were doing it in a quiz style, then you can, as you set up your PowerPoint, you can actually set that timer, and it'll end on its own, and it'll lock people out if they haven't answered.
So go ahead and click in. Everybody.
So we're looking for that magic number
There's
8.
So I don't like this particular kind of chart. I usually go to the horizontal or the bar. There you go. So we can see that we're kind of all over the place, but if you were a college class, these numbers would be quite different. And so we then could talk about, this is the way we link opinion to content. Let's say 8 of you are here and you're consistently getting 5 hours or less of sleep. But based on the reading today, what are some predictions we could make about your health this semester? What are some predictions we could make about your health long term? So we can actually take an opinion question, and then that leads into a discussion of the content. And we've just found that students really like keying in their own opinion or behavior. I use this, Amanda and I both do debates in some of our upper level GST classes, so it's really neat to have your students, if you're doing a debate, especially on a controversial issue, they click in where they stand on that issue, you have the debate, you come back and do it again, and you can see how opinions have changed based on what was delivered through the debate. So that's another way of using an opinion question or a polling question. So you can just have a yes, no. A would be yes, B would be no.
Right. Do you want to keep going, or you want
Yeah,
to show some of the?
Let's keep going just for a little bit to show. So then this is where we shared, as you see, then you just go right on through your PowerPoint. You just keep clicking through until you get to another question. So you want to already have your questions embedded in your PowerPoint, and then you just deliver your lesson the same way you always do.
I think we have a comment.
Oh, go
ahead.
back one, yeah,
Yeah.
because this, so you can, like I said, any way you want to set up your PowerPoint. This is something we pulled in from the Kaiser Foundation. And what's really neat, if you want to pull in something like that, that was a national survey, have students respond first and let's see where they stand,
Right.
and then you can bring in a national picture, and it's interesting for them to compare themselves.
Right. And in many cases we're using clickers along with other teaching tools. So you can see here we went from clickers to having them work in small groups, and then we came back to using the clickers again. So it does really give you the opportunity to use a lot of different teaching strategies throughout the course of your class. But while you're using PowerPoint, which sometimes students say are dry, then they feel like they're involved, and it allows you also to be engaged with them if you're delivering your course via PowerPoint, whether it be polling or content.
But let us warn you that once you use these, they don't care about you anymore. The next time you come to the classroom, where are the clickers? You don't have the clickers today, or we're not using the clickers.
Right.
So it's like they really warm up to this idea of why aren't we using the clickers. The other thing is, I've even found that I really have to pace my content slides, or students get restless quicker. If I've started with the clickers and then I've got 12 content slides, it's like they get restless because they're thinking, when's another clicker question coming? So if you are going to embed the clicker questions, I would suggest that you strategically pace them throughout your delivery, or at least I've found that to be true.
Yeah, I've paced them. I've used them as my only slides also, and delivered all content verbally, but had them click in throughout. So every single one of my slides was a clicker question. Again, sort of embedding them multiple times. There's just all different ways that you can use and set up your PowerPoint such that it's most convenient for your course or that class. I mean, my PowerPoints from one class to the next don't look the same, and there
Yeah.
are some PowerPoints that really, or some content that's really not conducive to using these either. So there are times that I'm using PowerPoint, but I am not using the clickers at all.
Or if you just have one or two questions, then I sometimes will just have 2 slides with the questions, and then I turn this off because I'm going to use other ways of course delivery for the rest of that day. So I don't want this up there where they're waiting for it.
Yep.
So
I think
that's
pretty much
the way we
how you
use
would use it here. I think we want to talk a little bit about some of the ins and outs if we go back and look at some of the parameters that might be helpful, such that if you had more than 32 students in your class, or if you have some of those questions, and then ask if you have questions. This would be a good time for us to be able to answer those.
Let's go ahead, and if you've got questions for us about what we've shown you so far.
So the software is it free?
It is free.
It is free.
What are some of the content questions? What's an example of a content question that you could ask?
A question that I might ask would be, based on the reading of nutrition in the United States, which of the following groups are at greatest risk for obesity?
Okay.
And then I might have a multiple choice question like that.
Yeah, that's a great example.
Is there a question type that would allow a short answer like a word or?
No.
Mm-mm.
Or fill in the blank.
But you could come
But
up with that, Ben, a way
Right.
to do that.
I do still do that, and in some respects, and I have whoever clicks in first gets to answer the question. They're really pretty competitive at that point. They don't care if you know their number anymore. So I've still embedded those things in, and so they're clicking in, and whoever clicks in first gets to answer. If they're wrong, somebody else is clicking in. On here, I think I've used Jeopardy. I think I have an example
I
of
think
Jeopardy that embedded in here. Yeah.
There you go.
And so For that, break them into teams, and so there might only be 5 clickers of teams. Now, in that respect, you know the clicker number so that you know whose team, so 1 through 5. I've also done it where each person in that team has had a clicker, so 1 through 5 is team 1, 6 through 11 is team 2, and so that anybody on that team could click in. So that works very, very well also.
How do you respond to this? You say like Kiwi's Big Adventure for 300?
300, so I'm
And
just
their
used,
question comes,
basically you just, I just open it as an A or B just so that I know that they're clicking in. It really has no meaning whatsoever. But I just open it up as an A or B so that I can see all their clickers. That's all that matters, is who clicks in first.
So she would then ask a question.
Correct. So they
And
would choose a category
for 300.
for 300, then
Amanda's
ask the
got that
question.
question, and
they click in. Whoever clicks in first gets to answer it. If they get it wrong, then whoever clicks in second gets to answer it.
So you posed the question verbally.
I pose it verbally.
verbally.
So could you please show maybe one example? Because I also use a Jeopardy tool
Do we-
in the class.
I don't have it with me, but
Let's do one in, maybe we could do one on fruits and vegetables.
sure. I think
Okay, so.
I'm out of my element today
Yeah,
with mine.
so you want Kiwi's Big Adventure. This is about fruits and
and
vegetables in the food guide pyramid. So let's say it's your team and you've chosen Kiwi's Big Adventure for 100. So then we might ask, according to the current food guide pyramid, what is the recommended number of servings of fruit per day?
Right.
Okay, so somebody's going to click in. Oh, well, then you just have to call it. And I'm going to say, number 5, I think you clicked in a nanosecond earlier.
Is it 5?
Well, it is 4 to 5, so okay.
So you'd get the 100
100 points, yes.
And I do have my teams keep their own point value. They don't they don't have to go backwards if they don't answer a question correct. But
subtract.
I
That could
don't.
be too much.
It does get a little
It-
complicated, but they're pretty good about adding.
Yeah. So,
Right. So that was
So-
just another example.
other questions?
What are the symbols? Can you go across the bottom, the grid, the whatever that second thing is, the green thing in the camera?
I don't know what
The grid is just a different way to look at the clickers. That's all it is. So if I always keep my grid down below,
Minimized.
but some people want their grid. I would imagine if you have a larger class or
2 screens?
two
screens. Could do that.
so you can change what the grid looks like. Again,
I'm not
that's
sure about that one.
the timer.
No.
Which one? This one?
Yeah.
This one just, I don't know. I don't use that
We
one.
haven't used that one.
Oh, that's pretty sure.
And over here you can add time or you can subtract time.
Does it beep when the timer's up or just?
It
ends.
just locks them out. So it ends and that's it. They can't answer any more questions.
Do they have to learn to keep an eye on
Right.
And
Let's see
I
if
do,
there's
if
another
I'm
one.
going to have it timed, especially a very brief, I tell them, because they're not looking here.
No.
So I'll just say, you
Right.
got 10 seconds. And especially if you want
So
an
here.
instant response, the timer's good.
Now, earlier on the task bar, that's it. You had the cumulative correct and the percentage. How does that come into play?
Down here.
Percentage questions?
You have to
Just set
enter
it
that
up.
and we don't.
Oh,
We typically don't. That you have to set
As you
it.
set up your lesson, you can, back at the very beginning, that's where you have to go in if you're going to use it that way and set it up.
Right.
And once again, these folks will walk you through how to do that if you that's the way you want to use the
We just both
technology.
use it such that we tell them what the correct answer is.
Because we don't use it as a test.
Right.
We don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but 6 years ago, Amanda and I did get a Cato
close it
grant. We
here.
did a real small research project on campus with students where we did some test questions, pre and post, and some of those we delivered through the use of the clickers and others we did not. So some of the content we delivered with clickers, some we did not use with the clickers, and we did pre and post exam questions. And then we also did some focus groups, and we put some questions on our course evaluations about the use of clickers. And I think we could say without a doubt, students perceived the class as being more engaging for the clicker class versus the non-clicker class. We did not see any significant differences in terms of getting questions right on the final exam, having been exposed to the clickers versus non-clickers. But we did find, for our discipline, it is a very good tool for engaging students in what you're teaching that day.
Right.
Other disciplines, and I know the expert that was here last week,
Physics.
yeah,
Derek.
Derek, and he interviewed us for his book, and I know there are a number of examples in his book where people have some evidence that it actually contributed to long-term memory and student learning of certain concepts. But in our research here at Elon, we found that it is just an excellent student engagement tool. We would not make any conclusions beyond that for us.
Is that because most of your questions are survey or opinion?
No, in that particular classes, we did a lot of content too.
Because we were wanting to test and to see if their knowledge base changed. If the class that used clicker were more successful in their exams than those students who did not have access to clickers. And
Did you test whole classes?
we did.
Yeah.
Did you have, was there a GPA difference? Class average?
No, and it was in HED 111, and
So it
they
was
are randomly
random.
assigned to those classes. So we felt like we had a pretty good built-in random sample.
Right.
Actually, I think we did it with a total of 5 or 6 classes.
We did, because we did first semester and second semester.
Yeah. So,
And with different content. We used alcohol content, nutrition content, and sleep or stress.
or sleep and stress combined.
There may have been.
It's been 5 or 6 years. We obviously don't remember.
So we also thought that there may be some difference in what the content was, but there wasn't any difference.
And we didn't publish that. We really did that as an in-house research project, but we'll be glad to talk with you more about that outside of this if you're interested in it. So other questions about this?
I just want to quickly show you that if you're wanting to make some changes, such as increasing the number of clickers, you would go to this button, which is called Options. And so you can make any number of changes. So if you scroll over any of these, it tells you exactly what clicking that box indicates. So showing clickers that have responded, or you might not care if they have responded or they have not. You can look at your feedback grid. And again, you can change the intervals as to how
here's
many
the
clickers numbers, or you should be able to. Right now it's being temperamental, but I'll show you where else you can do that.
And I doubt we have any sets that go above like 60 or 62 clickers total.
I don't think
But you can
so.
see how you could have a large class if you had that many clickers.
But this is pretty much where you can set
Set
your
it up.
auto, you can set a timer, you can auto start questions, you can set it for increments of time. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can do that we didn't do, or that we don't do often in our sessions.
We did make sure we both had this set up exactly the same when we did our research. And let's go to the reports for just a second.
Let me click out of here. You have to close to get back to your, and it just closes out your session.
Report. I
And
don't know
here's-
if it'll-
Here's where you can see today, this thing.
I'm sorry.
You guys worked on, you answered a total number of 3 questions. And so,
These are the clickers,
right.
the students that clicked in.
And over here, you can tell what report you want to have done.
And those are the reports we used to run some comparisons pre and post. But so you can get actually quite complicated with it. We've just found that we prefer to use it as a student engagement tool.
Is there a particular report that you format or report that you find helpful among that list?
There was one where you can get the percentage of correct answers if you have it set up that way, and that's helpful. If you want to go back and look at how many students got questions right, you can run a report for that.
It is, I'm pretty sure. There you go.
Yeah.
It's your response report.
So if I knew C was the right answer, I could say, wow. Or you can go back and look at the percentages that got it correct, and then you can run that, print it.
Does it allow any designation of the correct answer so that bells or whistles can go off or something?
It does. You can do that. We just don't. We don't have that embedded. You have to do that actually with your PowerPoint when you load your PowerPoint to begin with, and then when you run your report, it will include that. That's what you were asking about. Why is it showing 0 in terms of cumulative or number of correct? It's because we haven't embedded that in our PowerPoint, but it can do that.
And
Is
if
that a
that's
PowerPoint function, or is it this?
It's part of
It's-
CPS.
yeah.
It's
So
when
you-
you load your CPS.
and they'll walk you through how to do that if that's the way you want to set it up.
So you can tell which answer is correct, and can you track, if you assign clickers to the students, can you track them?
Yes.
That way then?
You
Yes.
can.
So that would be.
So-
have grades done.
Correct. You can, in preparing, you can actually prepare classes. And so you can assign your students to their clickers, and you can create any number of classes. And once you create new classes, you can then load your PowerPoint. So if you have 3 different classes, you would load your PowerPoint into that class or under that class. If you had a different class, you would load it under a different class. Absolutely.
But you can see for the way we use it, we never want to know which student has which clicker number. And so when we take them up and give them back out the second day, then students are getting a different number. And because of the questions that we ask, we don't want to know.
I saw an export up there.
Yep.
Would that be exporting the reports, or?
Or that may be
You're-
moving your PowerPoint.
No,
out.
it isn't about your PowerPoint. It's actually, it is exporting some of this data so that you could use it into your gradebook.
That's it, yeah.
So, if you were, see here is you can use a gradebook, and so you can export the information into your gradebook.
Yeah. That's it.
There's a whole Gradebook set up.
Correct.
Playing with it is the way to go. Once you get it loaded, I know I even took it home, and if you got a couple of people at home that can take a clicker and just play with it. And it doesn't take long to get pretty comfortable with using it in the classroom.
I can see you asking, what would you like for dinner? Who's going to wash the dishes?
Which restaurant would you prefer for dinner? A, B, C, D, or E?
I like that a lot.
What wine would you prefer for dinner?
I like that even better.
A, B, C, D, or E?
Better.
Okay, so we don't mean to rush out, but Amanda and I have a class at 12:25, so
Right.
we're glad to answer. Are there any more quick questions before we?
I have a quick thing.
Yeah.
I played with this a little bit because the library bought us that.
And there is a way to also, I don't know if you've played with this, there's a way to type in questions in which you can assign an answer. And that's mostly what I've been doing.
As you go.
Yeah, as you go. Or actually, you can create the questions ahead of time
Uh-huh.
and have an answer. But I want to try the PowerPoint thing. I haven't really done that.
Yeah.
Right.
You mean where you create the
Right,
questions
that's-
while you're
right.
in CPS?
Right, that
Yeah.
you do either in lessons
Since
or
we're
in
in
team
team
activities. Is that where you're,
Well, when you go back to prepare,
right,
you
But
can
then-
actually, and you go under lessons and
Right.
assessments, and you go to new.
yeah,
You can create, well, there's a way to create a lesson, and
Whoops.
then you can just,
Within
Type
that
it.
lesson.
yeah, and it gives you a template.
Yeah.
And you can choose like multiple
there you go.
choice or true false.
Yeah.
And so I played around with that a little bit.
yeah,
Yeah, so there's a way to do that too.
right.
But I think the PowerPoint is probably a lot more fun.
Well, it gives us a chance to be familiar with the way we've constructed the question before we get there, and so I guess
I just feel
that's-
like it's always easier because I'm able to use both polling and content, and I'm able to also get the information in between the slides. It just seems helpful for students who are both auditory and visual learners that you're really working towards their different learning styles and being able to be as creative as you can, especially when you have maybe a really packed class that content's really important for them to understand.
All right, well, thank you very much, ladies.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. You're welcome.
We would ask, please, that you power down before we take your clickers back up.